Imagine training your entire life for one moment. You have sacrificed everything. You have run until your lungs burned. You have trained in the heat and the cold and the rain. You have given up your childhood, your comfort, your time with your family, all for one dream. To represent your country, to wear that jersey, to walk out onto that pitch and make your nation proud. And then one day, not because of anything you did, not because of any failure on the field, not because your team was not good enough, but because of decisions made by politicians and bureaucrats far above you, FIFA sends a letter. And just like that, your country is gone. Banned, suspended, erased from world football. No World Cup, no qualifiers, no international matches. Your dream, taken from you by people who never kicked a ball in their lives. This is not a hypothetical. This has happened to real players, real nations, real football communities around the world. And the reasons FIFA gives when it bans a country are never the complete story. Today, House of MB is going to tell you the complete story. Every major country FIFA has banned or suspended, and the real, dark, uncomfortable reasons why. To understand how FIFA's ban system works, you first need to understand the one rule that FIFA treats as absolutely sacred above almost all others: the rule against government interference in football. FIFA's statutes require that every national football association must operate independently from its government. No government minister can appoint football officials. No government body can control the National Football Association. No political interference of any kind is permitted. The reasoning FIFA gives for this rule sounds logical. Football should be free from political manipulation. Governments should not be able to use football for political purposes. The sport should be governed by football people, not politicians. That sounds reasonable on the surface. But here is the reality. FIFA enforces this rule selectively. FIFA enforces this rule in ways that conveniently protect FIFA's own interests. And FIFA has used this rule to punish countries, not always because genuine government interference occurred, but sometimes because the country's football association challenged FIFA's authority, or because the country's government made decisions that FIFA's powerful members did not like. The rule is real. The application of it is often deeply political, and the players who suffer when a ban is imposed never had any say in any of it. Let us start with Kuwait, because Kuwait's story perfectly illustrates everything that is wrong with how FIFA handles bans. Kuwait was banned by FIFA not once, but twice. The first suspension came in 2015. FIFA determined that the Kuwaiti government had passed laws that interfered with the independence of the Kuwait Football Association. The government had dissolved the KFA's board and appointed a replacement committee. Under FIFA's rules, this constituted government interference. Kuwait was suspended. Kuwaiti players, who had no involvement in any of these decisions, were suddenly unable to compete internationally. The Kuwait national team could not play. Kuwaiti clubs could not participate in Asian competitions. An entire football community was punished for a political decision made by their government. The ban was eventually lifted after Kuwait took steps to restore the Football Association's independence. But then it happened again. In 2017, Kuwait was banned a second time, again for government interference. Again, Kuwaiti players paid the price for decisions they never made. The Kuwait story is important, not just because of the bans themselves, but because of what it reveals about the relationship between FIFA and member nations. Small countries with limited geopolitical power get banned quickly and firmly when they violate FIFA's statutes. But larger, more powerful football nations, countries whose participation is commercially valuable to FIFA, receive far more flexibility and patience when similar issues arise. The pattern is consistent. The enforcement is not. Now let us talk about Pakistan. Pakistan's football story is one of the saddest in the sport. A nation of over 200 million people, one of the most populous countries on earth, has been almost entirely absent from international football for most of its history. Pakistan was suspended by FIFA in 2017 after the Pakistan Football Federation was taken over by a court-appointed administrator following internal governance disputes within the federation. FIFA considered this government interference. Pakistan was suspended. The suspension meant Pakistani players could not compete internationally. The Pakistan national team, already struggling to develop at the highest level, was further set back by years. Here is the dark truth about Pakistan's situation. FIFA's rules require football associations to be independent from government. But in many developing countries, countries where football infrastructure is weak, where governance systems are fragile, where institutional corruption is a real problem, the line between government and football association is often blurry. FIFA demands these countries meet the same governance standards as wealthy European nations with decades of established football infrastructure. And when they inevitably struggle to meet those standards, FIFA bans them. The result is that the countries that most need FIFA's support, the developing football nations that could benefit most from being part of the international football community, are the ones most likely to face suspension. While wealthy football nations with strong governance systems face little risk of suspension. This is not an accident. This is a structural feature of how FIFA operates, a feature that consistently disadvantages poor and developing football nations. Chad is another deeply troubling case. Chad was suspended by FIFA in 2020 after the Chadian government dissolved the country's football federation following allegations of corruption and mismanagement within the federation itself. Think about the paradox here. The Chadian government intervened in football because of corruption within the football federation. FIFA then suspended Chad because the government intervened. So the punishment for trying to address corruption in football was being banned from football. The players and fans of Chad were punished because their government tried to clean up their football association. If that logic seems circular and unjust, that is because it is. FIFA's rigid application of its government interference rule ignores context completely. It does not matter why a government intervened. It does not matter whether the intervention was motivated by a genuine desire to address corruption and improve governance. The rule is the rule, and the players pay the price. Now let us talk about Indonesia. Indonesia's ban is one of the most shocking in recent football history, and one of the most revealing about how FIFA's power can be used in ways that have very little to do with the stated reasons. Indonesia was suspended by FIFA in 2015. The official reason was government interference. The Indonesian government had dissolved the Football Association of Indonesia following years of mismanagement, corruption, and safety failures that had resulted in stadium disasters and the deaths of football fans. The Indonesian government stepped in because the Football Association had demonstrably failed. Fans had died. Corruption was rampant. The association had proven incapable of governing itself, and FIFA suspended Indonesia for it. The Indonesian ban had immediate and devastating consequences. Indonesia was excluded from the 2018 World Cup qualifying process. Indonesian clubs were banned from Asian competitions. Millions of passionate Indonesian football fans, one of the largest football audiences in Asia, were cut off from international football. Here is what makes Indonesia's case particularly interesting. FIFA had for years received complaints about corruption and mismanagement within Indonesian football. FIFA had the tools and the authority to intervene and help fix the problems before the government felt forced to step in. FIFA largely failed to act effectively, and then when the government stepped in to do what FIFA should have done, FIFA punished the entire country. The pattern here is not subtle. FIFA protects its own authority above almost everything else, even above good governance, even above the welfare of football communities. If a government steps in to fix a problem that FIFA failed to fix, FIFA will punish the country because the act of government intervention challenges FIFA's authority over football in that nation. Let us talk about Nigeria. Nigeria's situation illustrates a different dimension of how FIFA's ban system operates. Nigeria has faced multiple suspensions and threats of suspension over the years, most related to government interference in the Nigerian Football Federation. In 2014, Nigeria was briefly suspended after the Nigerian government intervened in the NFF following an internal governance dispute. The timing was particularly cruel. It came during a period when Nigerian football was actually performing well and Nigerian fans were deeply engaged with the sport. The suspension was short-lived, but it demonstrated how quickly FIFA can move to punish even major football nations when its authority is challenged. Nigeria's case also illustrates another uncomfortable truth. When FIFA threatens to ban a major football nation, a nation that is commercially valuable because of its large fan base and strong football culture, the ban tends to be resolved quickly through negotiation. When FIFA bans a small, commercially unimportant nation, the ban can drag on for years with no urgency to resolve it. The value of your football market to FIFA correlates directly with how quickly your ban gets resolved. This is not how a principled governing body should operate. This is how an organization that prioritizes commercial interests over sporting justice operates. India's football story is one of the most complex and in many ways most heartbreaking on this list. India, the second most populous country on Earth, a nation of 1.4 billion people, has for most of its history been almost entirely absent from world football at the highest level. India was suspended by FIFA in 2022 after the Supreme Court of India intervened in the All India Football Federation following years of governance failures within the federation. FIFA suspended India immediately. The suspension meant India could not host the Under-17 Women's World Cup, a tournament that had already been awarded to India, and that would have been a transformative moment for football development in the country. Young female footballers who had dreamed of competing in a World Cup on home soil, their dream was taken away. Not because of anything they did, but because of a governance dispute between FIFA, the Indian Football Federation, and the Indian judiciary. The suspension was eventually lifted after a new AIFF executive committee was elected, but the damage, the lost momentum, the cancelled hosting rights, the message sent to young Indian footballers cannot be undone. And once again, the question must be asked. FIFA has enormous resources. FIFA has development programs and governance experts. FIFA claims to be committed to growing football in Asia's largest markets. But when India's football governance was clearly failing, why did FIFA not intervene with genuine support and expertise to help fix the problems before they reached crisis point? Why does FIFA's response to governance failures in developing football nations always seem to be punishment rather than support? Now let us talk about Sierra Leone, because Sierra Leone's story brings in a dimension of FIFA's behavior that is genuinely difficult to reconcile with any notion of justice. Sierra Leone is a small West African nation that has endured enormous hardship, civil war, poverty, disease, and through all of it, football has been one of the few consistent sources of national pride and community. Sierra Leone faced suspension from FIFA in 2013 after the Sierra Leone Football Association was dissolved by the government following allegations of corruption within the association. FIFA suspended Sierra Leone. In the context of everything that the people of Sierra Leone had already endured, the suspension was another blow to a football community that had very little. And the support FIFA provided to help Sierra Leone fix its governance problems and restore its membership? Minimal. The contrast between FIFA's swift action to punish and its slow, inadequate action to support is nowhere more visible than in the cases of small, poor African nations like Sierra Leone. Now let us pull back and look at the complete picture, because when you look at every case on this list, Kuwait, Pakistan, Chad, Indonesia, Nigeria, India, Sierra Leone, a pattern emerges that FIFA does not want you to see. The pattern is this. FIFA's ban system consistently punishes the players and fans, the people who had no power in any of these situations. The pattern is that FIFA enforces its rules most harshly against countries that are commercially unimportant to FIFA's business model. The pattern is that FIFA uses the threat of bans as a tool to protect its own authority and control, not primarily to protect the integrity of football. The pattern is that FIFA rarely uses its enormous resources and influence to proactively help struggling football associations fix their governance before crises develop, but moves with extraordinary speed to punish them when crises occur. And the pattern is that the people who suffer most from FIFA bans are always the same people. The players who trained their whole lives, the fans who love their national team, the children who dreamed of one day wearing their country's jersey. They never made the decisions that caused the ban. They never had any power over the politicians or administrators whose actions triggered FIFA's response. But they are the ones whose dreams are taken away. FIFA will tell you its ban system exists to protect football from political interference. And there is a genuine principle there that matters. Football should not be a tool of political manipulation. But the way FIFA applies that principle, selectively, commercially, self-servingly, has turned a rule designed to protect football into a weapon that FIFA uses to protect its own power. Real reform of how FIFA handles bans would look very different. It would involve graduated responses rather than immediate suspensions. It would involve genuine support for struggling football associations before crises develop. It would involve commercial neutrality, treating small nations with the same urgency as large ones. And it would involve keeping players and fans at the center of every decision, ensuring that the people who love the sport most are never made to pay for the failures of those who are supposed to serve it. Until that reform happens, somewhere in the world right now, a player is training, dreaming, sacrificing. And they have no idea that a decision being made by politicians and bureaucrats, people who will never know their name, could one day take everything away from them. That is the dark reality of FIFA's ban system. And that is the truth that House of MB will never stop telling. I am MB. This is House of MB. Subscribe. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Hit the bell, and I will see you in the next one.